Welcome to the first episode of Hear Her Story podcast, a four-part podcast produced by volunteer members of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts for International Day of the Girl 2021. This podcast is available in Arabic, English, French, and Spanish. I am Anjali, this podcast was originally recorded in Arabic with our guest and then translated into French, English, and Spanish by our translation teams. Alongside this podcast, WAGS has developed an activity pack called Write Her Story. The link to this can be found in the information about the podcast. The activity pack is designed to be flexible enough to be used in a variety of circumstances, whether you are a lone member, meeting face-to-face, or even virtually. It can take you on a journey to change media headlines. You will first start by understanding the headlines as they currently are, finding a subject you care about, and wanting to create change on that. You'll finish this by developing a plan to advocate for change. You should see the structure of this activity pack being reflected in the discussions through the podcast series. At the end of this podcast, we'll be setting you a social media challenge to take away and complete so that we can develop a discussion surrounding International Day of the Girl and the podcast series. We look forward to hearing from you. So what is IDG and how is WAGS working towards this aim? Well, International Day of the Girl, or also known as IDG, was initiated by the United Nations back in 2012, and it takes place each year on the 11th of October. Its aim is to recognize girls' rights and the unique challenges faced by girls around the world. Each year, there is a focus on promoting girls' empowerment and the fulfillment of their human rights. A key way WAG sees the objectives of the International Day of the Girl being achieved is through giving girls around the world the tools to be a voice for change through their advocacy. Advocacy in girl guiding and girl scouting is influencing decision makers to make decisions that will create an equal world where all girls can thrive. Girl-led advocacy happens when girls are the one choosing the issues they want to advocate on, defining the change they want to see, and influencing the decision makers they have identified to help improve their lives and the lives around others. At WAGS, we believe that every girl matters no matter her age or where she is from. We also believe that they should have the opportunity to learn about advocacy and practice it in a safe space.
Thank you, Mariam, for the introduction and for defining to us what the IDG is about. We welcome you all again. I am Camila, and I will take lead into the first episode of this podcast that is special for you for the IDG 2021, to meet an inspiring young leader who had a prominent role in advocacy and campaigning locally and internationally. Our guest for today is Amna Fitouri from Tunisian Scouts. Welcome, Amna.
Hello, everyone.
Amna, please tell us more about yourself. Who is Amna Fitouri?
This is a very hard question for me. I'm Amna Fitouri, a leader from Hemam Lannaf in Tunisian Scouts organization. I've completed my master's and I'm a member of the National Patrol of Rovers. These are the most important facts about me.
What about your other roles in your guiding experiences?
I am a member of the Motion 32 project team and I have volunteered nationally and regionally, and lastly, internationally.
How amazing! I have taken a look at the CV before our interview and it is full of interesting experiences that I am excited to talk to you about today. To start off, we are curious to know, did you begin your volunteering journey?
I've always been an observational person. At first, I was surprised to see many young people give their time and energy to help and serve others without asking for anything in return. And I liked the idea. So I became one of the first people to volunteer in the community of Hemmenet Troop, and I never stopped, especially in times of the pandemic. I don't think that volunteering is something that has limits or a specific time. It is something that can be done in all aspects of life. It teaches us how to become socially smart and improve ourselves.
How amazing! Is there anything specific that keeps you motivated to stay on track?
The biggest motivation for me is my love for my country. For my country, I want to always feel like I'm giving something to it. My love for my country is the base for everything I do.
For sure, this is a great motivation and it is something that many guides would relate to worldwide. We heard about the local youth forum in Tunisia. Can you tell us more about it? How was it able to empower you as a young woman and leader and support you in your international participations?
I was a member of the first Scout Youth Forum in Tunisia. It was the first version and it was local. As we were speaking about this, I would like to thank Maher for choosing me to be on the team. It was one of the best opportunities that I've experienced as I was trained on good planning and tasking. It encouraged me to always stick to the rules and implement royalty in my personality. And for this forum, I got to learn more about issues that the youth of both genders face. I felt closer to them. I was pushed to have a deeper understanding of the challenges they go through, and this made me one of the voices of the young Tunisian women in WAGs.
And what was your first experience with WAGs?
It was with the Commission Status of Women, CSW, in New York. I was a delegate for CSW 57, and I talked about violence against women in Tunisia. I got to fill surveys, talk to many foreigners, and understand their points of views. It was one of the best experiences for me with WAGs.
Can you explain to our listeners what CSW stands for?
It stands for the Commission Status of Women. It studies matters regarding to women of every culture, and it's held in New York. There is one representative from every country. There we got to present ourselves and study each other's presentations to go deep into their stories.
Amna, I've also read in your CV about your role as an officer for partnership projects for UN and UNICEF. Please tell us about it as we are so curious to know more.
I was at some point responsible for the partnerships with UNICEF at the Tunisian Scouts. I volunteered with Europort and headed to schools and held activities to spread awareness about the importance of hand washing, as this was before COVID-19. Also, for Rovers, I was responsible for partnerships with the United Nations for refugee matters. I learned from this experience in particular to face crises and pandemics. I also strengthened my analytical skills. It made me ready to face our current pandemic as now I am trained for it.
That is great. What about Motion 32? What was your role in this team?
In the 36th World Conference in 2017, the World Board of WAGs was assigned to hold a research project to find out why there are so many young women taking leadership positions and how we can fix this problem. So, with the guidance of the World Board, our team was created and started to work on the requested research. We chose different styles of researching, for example, virtual and face to face. This happened between the March of 2019 and the July of 2021. I was part of the team researching regarding young women in governance, and it consisted of 10 young women. There were two representatives of each region. I was representing the Arab region alongside my friend Susanna from Lebanon. Through my various personal meetings, discussions, and focus groups and surveys, we collected and came to a conclusion that found out that all young women strongly agree that the participation and decision making is important, whether it's locally, regionally, or even internationally. This is something 97% of them agreed on, but there were many challenges and difficulties that we noticed that they faced. Mainly the lack of self-confidence and lack of knowledge of the availability of opportunities for them to take leadership positions. We then handed out these results over to the World Conference last month, and that's about Motion 32.
Amazing. After all these surveys and the results that you have reached, what is the next step for this project?
We provided conclusions in a very deep analysis and a few recommendations. One of the recommendations was to provide member organizations to provide a quota of young women that are in decision-making roles. It has to be at least 2 young women taking these positions in every board. If you would like to know more about the details of this, you can reach this information by going to the WAG's website.
That's fantastic. The report is available for anyone who wants to learn more on the website, and it is real that young women should have a base in decision making, especially in matters regarding them. Also, providing selected seats in boards is something that we see in WAGs, and it ensures that we have a real role and our voices are being heard and listened to.
For sure, we never reject leaders who are older, but we just want them to be trusted with the opportunity of having the ability to talk and discuss with them, or by being allowed to even speak up for themselves.
Here we have a saying, light of the old and the power of the young. Our older leaders are our source of wisdom and consultancy.
I feel like the
Am-
Arab
Amna, as a leader from Arab region, how do you feel that you added more diversity to international teams and groups that you have worked with?
I feel like the Arab region is different from any other because of the issues of Arab leaders that need to be brought up internationally to be heard and analyzed. I personally feel like I was able to make the Arab voice reach out louder. I am sure that in the Arab region, we have very strong skills and talents that would add a lot to others. I try my best to be representative as possible. Arab women add values to international teams as they are so different from others.
Oh, yeah, it is such an honor for us to see one of us achieve so much and reach great positions. We have another question regarding advocacy and campaigning. We heard that you participated in different campaigns, such as Campaign to Change, and another that was to spread awareness on drug abuse. Can you tell us more?
Campaign to Change was a campaign that was held in Jordan. It was to spread awareness of violence in universities. We were a group of Arab youth that met in Jordan. We noticed that violence was happening in universities and decided to make an advocacy campaign. We planned it step by step and made a complete study about it. We then figured the plan out by making a flash mob in public spaces such as parks, cities, streets, universities. Years after this campaign, we noticed a gradual decrease in violence rates in universities. We are glad to be the reason for such change. Regarding spreading awareness against drugs, Tunisian Scouts were in a project with the ambassadors of peace to talk about drug abuse. We had 2 steps. The first was spreading awareness. The second step was getting closer to drug addicts, and we helped them get into treatment by inviting them to our camps and even providing them therapy there. Believe me, this is one of the campaigns that Tunisian Scouts held. We're accompanying we're accompanying them in all of their activities like soccer. We helped 10 drug addicts to sober up.
How emotional. How do you think the audience of youth reacted to all of these campaigns? How did they want to join and help?
The youth were very excited to participate. We're holding presentations for our campaigns before launching them. I noticed that young people, and especially scouts, were so ever ready to provide a helping hand. Honestly, without this help, we wouldn't have achieved success.
It is true, scouts and guides are always ready to help in such situations.
Yes, When I say scouts, I'm referring to scouts and guides together, as that's how it is in my member organization.
Understandable. As a successful leader, it is sure that you have faced difficulties and challenges before. Understandable. As a successful leader, it is sure that you have faced a lot of difficulties and challenges before. What are some of them and how did you overcome them?
I may not remember specific challenges right now, but yeah, this is so true, and no project is free of issues and challenges that we need to overcome and learn from. The biggest challenge is the people who try to put you down. I overcame this by, using my patience and having confidence in myself. That's what helped me ignore any destructive criticism.
Also, the motivation that you have mentioned in the beginning of this episode, the love of your country.
Exactly. My love for my country is my goal and my motivation to jump over any obstacle and get back to track.
Remembering this always brings back the passion to return and continue your job.
Exactly.
What is the one piece of advice that you would like to send to those young women who are interested in the field of advocacy and would like to become more active in it?
I would like to say to every young woman and leader, believe in yourself. You have the time, skills, and ideas for it. Don't wait for people to come and offer you a job. Always initiate and lead. It will be blessed by God.
Overcoming your fear as well is a big step to begin anything. Talking about self confidence, this is a big matter for WAGs that we always talk about. There's specified teams and committees for these matters that work on it. For example, the curriculum for Free Being Me that practiced in many member organizations worldwide. Is this program held in Tunisia as well?
Yes, we held the Free Being Me in all parts of Tunisia. All troops participated in a project related to Free Being Me, and it had very positive feedback, especially for brownies, because they are young and the guides are slightly older. I felt like this project really empowered all guides in Tunisia, and it was one of the best activities by WAGs.
I'm very glad to hear that. Leader Amna, we have now reached the end of our episode, but we'd like to ask you one final question. Is your If your life had a title, what would it be?
This is actually the second hardest question. In my life, if I had a title, I think I would name it Rainbow, because rainbows always make me positive. There is always a smile after every tear, and it always gets better after hardships. So I will pick it for me being optimistic as this title for my life.
Oh, that's so lovely. Now that we have finished our questions and reached the end of our podcast, I want to tell you that I'm very happy to meet you today. The discussion was very exciting, and I'm glad to deeply listen to your experiences in detail. You're very inspiring to us regionally and internationally. We wish you all the blessings in the work you do.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Now we go back to you, Mariam.
The first section of hashtag Write Her Story activity pack. You will be looking at the current news and writing down the headlines you find about girls and women. You will be then categorizing them as bad news, good news, and no news. Let's see how many good news stories we can find. And now, on to our first social media challenge. As you work through the pack, you'll be researching headlines. We're challenging you to take one of the bad news headlines and make it positive. An example of this is something you might have even heard of in the news recently. 11 million girls worldwide at risk of not returning to school after COVID-19, stated by the United Nations. But what if it's actually said like this? Attendance at school by girls projected to increase post COVID-19, as stated by the United Nations. Don't forget to share with us by using the hashtag #HearHerStory and tagging us at WAGS World. In our next episode, we will be hearing from an external organization. Here is a little spoiler.
Many times we think that advocating must necessarily mean working on a very large campaign, for example, for a change at the national level. But the reality is that one is also advocating when, for example, a friend talks to a friend and tells her about some problems so you can generate empathy and work together on solutions.
Finally, we would like to thank our amazing volunteer team behind this podcast: Camilla, Mariam, Barbara, Mercedes, Mino, Fehri, Zoro, and Anjali, and the WAG staff, especially Elsa and Maria, and the music from bensound.com.